Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
Okay, working on a little bit of a head cold, but other than that, did you get a new haircut, Bruce? It looks your hair's looking sharp tonight.
Yep. We went in. We put it off earlier in the month, so it was really getting out of control there for a little while. And we got in there earlier in the week, Wednesday, I think it was, and got things cut down to size a little bit. So
Very good.
it does look better. I don't mind it a little longer, but at a certain point, I'm not 14 anymore, right?
Gets a little, yeah, fair enough. All righty, man. 3-1 win of the Oilers over the Senators.
Mm-hmm.
Going into Christmas on a high note. The Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
The grade A shots were 12-5, I think, for the Oilers, with a subset of 5 alarm shots, 6-5 for the Oilers. So it was closer on the
all of the Ottawa shots were 5 alarms, eh? All the grade A's.
We actually had it 13-5 for the grade A's, but all of the Ottawa shots were grade A. So when they got one, they got a good
5
one.
Alarms. Oh,
5 alarms. Yeah, they were all 5 alarms. So, Bruce, this is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, 2 numbers podcast. What's your good thing?
Yeah, I'll go with Victor Arvidson. And not all good, but there was very little about this game that was all good. I found this game a struggle, and I think both teams did as well. It was their third and 4 nights for both, and back-to-back for both. And it kind of showed with a little bit of sloppy play. Some of it from Victor Arvidson, who was filling in for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, both on the first line with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman, and on the first power play unit. And he had some peculiar moments, but he also had some very strong and ultimately decisive moments when he scored to open the scoring in the first period, 14 minutes into the first period. And he did it the old-fashioned way by going to the net with his stick on the ice when Connor McDavid was coming out of the corner with the puck. And Connor McDavid delivered the puck right onto the stick that was on the ice waiting for it, and Arvidson slammed it into the upper half of the net. And they had broken through on the red hot coming into this game, Linus Ullmark, who subsequently didn't finish the game. He only played the first period before leaving with some kind of injury, which is kind of a bummer. But Arvidson was the one Oiler who beat the red hot Ullmark. And then in the second period, he, on the power play this time, a power play that did not particularly have a good night, but they did have a big goal. In fact, it was the game-winning goal that broke the 1-1 tie. Again, fairly late, 14 minutes into the second period. And Arvidson was kind of on the perimeter of this play, and the play was doing nothing. And so he finally decided to go and get on the inside. And he got on the edge of the crease. Leon Draisaitl fed one through the traffic. He deflected it on net. That didn't go in. He slammed a rebound on net. That didn't go in, but the second rebound bounced over to Zach Hyman, and he was able on the other side of the net to bury it past the netminder Levi Merlinen.
Levi
Merlinen, who got his first NHL win last night, but he got the loss this game because their usual backup goalie is out. Anyway, that sequence of shots, which occurred over a span of, I believe it was 1 second, were shots officially of 5 feet and 3 feet, both by Arvidson, and 4 feet by Hyman, which I think puts them in the blue paint. I mean, I have to watch the replay again, but I think basically all 3 shots came from inside the blue paint. And finally, the third one pierced uh, the goal line and went into the back of the net. And so just with those two plays, his goal and his primary assist, Victor Arvidson was, in a very large sense, the difference maker in this game. And as I mentioned, there's lots of his game that I wasn't particularly keen on, but he had some good moments, and those moments turned out to be crucial in the outcome of this game. So good on you, Victor. He came back to the lineup this week. He was put in the bottom six because they didn't want to mess with what was a good thing, but with Nuge being unavailable, he was the choice to move up. And I think in full retrospect of what happened tonight, you'd say he made that opportunity count with actual points. He didn't go up and, look good, but get nothing done. He went up there and didn't look that good, but he got lots done, goal and assist. So, Victor, you got my good thing on a night where not one player out there was perfect or close to it.
Nuge had a hard time last night, and I was quite critical of him. Now I'm wondering if he was sick, playing sick last night as well.
Yeah. Well, they said there was sickness rippling through both teams, and I believe it based on the game we saw.
Yeah, it's tough to crank it up when you're sick off sometimes. So
you're doing right now, David.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm cranking it up though. More like Nuge last night. So I think it's good to try some different people with Hyman and McDavid.
Sure.
Arvidson is a very interesting choice because not only does he have a good, he's a shooter. McDavid's obviously, he's primarily a passer. He can really shoot, obviously. Hyman is also a shooter, but he's more of like in-tight shooter. Right. Arvidsson's interesting because he's both an in-tight shooter like Hyman, but he's also got a good outside shot. So on the power play, that's you have the right shot. He's on the left half wall with the right shot. And you have someone who's actually can really hammer the puck from there, which adds a wrinkle to the Oilers' power play. Nuge is a great facilitator of the puck.
Yeah.
And we saw some problems with Arvidson on the power play where he gave away the puck. It was slow to shoot and things like that. So he's got a ways to go. Like if you're going to be on that power play, the puck can't die in your stick. That's not, if it's going to die anywhere, it should die on Connor's stick or Leon's stick. Them trying to make a great play and not succeeding, which will happen now and then. But you don't want it. So that's going to be Arvidsson's challenge if he's going to vie for that, for that position. But he does offer that wrinkle of someone who really goes hard to the net. And one of the things I noticed with Nugent Hopkins is last night, even when he's going like it's a 2-on-1 or like a play where you'd think he's someone who kind of fades a bit to the outside rather than going right to the net. That's Nugent's game. And he's always looking for space to operate in, which is not a bad strategy, but going to the net hard is also a good strategy, and it paid off in that goal. The first goal, Bruce, I'd like to point out, Ekholm and Hyman made good plays along the boards to facilitate that goal as well. That was a really nice play by Ekholm pinching down there, and it disrupted the flow of play for Ottawa. And then Hyman made a good pop of the puck to McDavid, and that's all you need to do is get that puck to Connor McDavid. So
sometimes that's the main thing you need to do for sure, but you also got to do what Murdoch Davis, our friend, calls GTTFN, go to the net. And I'll let the alert listener fill in the blank there. And it's what Arvidson did. And then when the puck came, it didn't go through his stick. It didn't bounce wide. He buried it. So
twice he went to the net, essentially.
Yeah. Yes,
and
that's
2
how
goals.
Both goals were scored.
And I will say, Nuge doesn't do that. That's not his game. So he plays a different game, and it can be really effective as well. But I just wonder I think Arvidsson's definitely in the top 6 on the Oilers for sure. He's a really good hockey player from what I've seen in Edmonton. I have liked his play. He's just got to stay healthy. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be between players like Nuge and Jeff Skinner and Evander Kane. Podkolzin's in the running now. Maybe Kapanen for some of these other positions in the top 6. We'll see who wins them in the end. Bruce,
and Evander Kane eventually.
Yeah,
Arvidsson, if you look at the Oilers payroll, Arvidsson's number 6. at
Yeah,
$4
there you
million.
go.
And very frequently, that's your top sixes. It's six highest paid guys. And Kane is out of the loop. So there's been space for guys like Podkolzin and Kapanen to get a chance, because Kane for all season and Arvidson for half of it have been out of the lineup.
Kapanen he's a tricky, like, he's good with the puck and he's fast. And
Mm-hmm.
as long as he keeps not making mistakes on defense, like keeps playing that solid defensive game, he's got certainly a chance to stick in the lineup, and we'll see where he ends up. He's been impressive too. I've liked what I've seen. First, my good thing is the third goal, which was a big goal. Early in the third period, the Oilers are up 2-1. We all know what the Oilers can do in the third period, which is give away the lead. They've done it a number of times. They're getting better at it, not doing it,
Mm-hmm.
but they even did it in this homestand, very
Yes.
successful homestand. So you just never know with the Oilers. They still have a problem of buttoning it down on defense and just making the safe, smart play. But one way you can get around that is by scoring a goal, get a 2-goal lead. And it was a really nice, very nice play between Connor Brown, Matthias Janmark, and Adam Henrique. Was there a stretch pass in there too, or was that that was a different play that I'm
That was the
thinking of, I
first one. The
guess?
same three guys where Emerson made a long stretch pass, and Janmark tipped it over to Brown, and Brown fed Henrique alone, streaking into the slot, and Ullmark, this was still the first period, robbed him with the glove.
Oh
It
yeah.
was the same. It was a three-way passing play with the same line. Like, they only had two shots, but both shots were dandies.
Yeah, that one was a nice stretch pass by Amberson in the first, and a really nice measured pass by Connor Brown to find Henrique in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who won the puck on this. Who won the puck on this? Was it Janmark or Brown here? I can't remember the exact sequence, but there was two nice passes. Janmark
Mm-hmm.
and Brown make two nice passes, and they catch Henrique coming in late, the danger man. We
Yeah.
often talk about this player.
Mm-hmm.
The most dangerous player on the ice is the danger man. He's coming in late to the slot. Because of that, everyone's focused on the puck and on the puck carriers. And when you lay it off to that danger man, he's often wide open. And Henrique was wide open, and he slammed that puck in. It was a really nice shot by the player who is known to Oilers fans as Rico. Every time he scores, Bruce, I yell out the Rico. And I can't remember who. I think my son might have asked me today. He's here visiting. Why do you, or my wife did? Why do you yell Rico every time he scores? I said, who doesn't want to yell Rico every time he scores?
All three times, eh?
Rolls off the tongue. Yeah, it doesn't happen that much. He's only got 10 points this year.
Uh-huh.
And Janmark and Brown are headed to about 30 points, it looks like, 30, 35 points, which is pretty good for third
Where they
line
are
winger
in
in
the
the
lineup,
NHL.
yeah.
Not bad. Henrique is not, he's headed to about 25 points or so. So we'll see. I think he'll get to the 30-point mark too once
Probably.
he cranks it up. He's an interesting player. He's a very, very smart player. He's sound positionally, generally speaking, on defense. He doesn't. He's not fast. He's not bringing up the team speed, Bruce. But he's one of these guys right now who's surviving on his high level of skill, his tenacity, and his smarts. And he's got a lot of all those three things. So I expect he'll be a solid third line center in the playoffs this year. And then maybe next year, the fourth line center in the final year of his deal. But, I know that there's a lot of controversy around this player because there's some controversy around him because,
He's an
they
Oiler.
he's an
There's
Oiler.
controversy around every Oiler.
Some people really miss Ryan McLeod. I don't blame them for missing Ryan McLeod, and it's exacerbated by Dylan Holloway going to St. Louis on and on and on. But I was glad the moment Adam Henrique re-signed. I was really glad because I thought he was a solid player, solid third line center in the playoffs for the Oilers. And that's what they needed. That's what this
Yeah.
team has needed for a long time.
Yep.
And I know Ryan McLeod can fill that role and did fill that role somewhat, but we really got it from Henrique. So good for Rico
The
tonight.
Bouchard triangle has finally been filled.
Someone hasn't been sucked into the vortex of the Bouchard triangle. I don't think Eric Bouchard likes all Edmonton fans very much.
No. Well, the thing with Henrique is the exact same thing that happened to Eric Bouchard. When he was in, I think it was Arizona, before he came here, and he had something like 8 straight years of 40 points, or very close to 40 points. But he was always like really solid in the top 6, second line, but he was in the top half of the forwards, and he came here and he was on the third line. And it doesn't take much for a third line center to get completely categorized as a a defensive player playing on a line where you're just happy if neither team scores when they're out there. They play lots of starts in their defensive zone. He plays more on the penalty kill than the power play, and contributes much of the grunt work that needs doing. But sometimes the points totals take a huge hit. I mean, remember Michael Pekka when he came to Edmonton, and people were raving about Michael Pekka, and then they were complaining because I think he got 23 points that year. But tell you what, there were 23 honest points, and I don't think any of them were on the power play.
Yeah, and
he just got some 5-on-5, and I made the odd shorty to mix things up, and so it's the expectations. Like, you can't just say, well, last year Henrique had 24 goals and 51 points, therefore we should expect more of that in Edmonton. Last year he didn't play on a team where McDavid and Draisaitl were the top 2 centers, basically breathing all of the offensive oxygen in the game.
Yeah.
He's not getting chances with high-end teammates, positive zone starts, right? He's there to emit grunts.
So he was getting about 0.6 points per game in his last 3 years in Anaheim, and he's getting about 0.3 points per game in Edmonton.
Go figure.
So
it's not like he lost half his game. They're asking him to do a different job.
Yeah, and I think he does that job really well. I think he does a good job at it. And in the playoffs, he's a veteran player who can, if he's healthy in the playoffs, can really crank it up and do an outstanding job.
He was robbed twice by Askarov yesterday, and after one of them, my wife Anna was saying, "What a nice try by Henrique," and I said, "Are you talking about Adam? I may never score another goal ever again." Hoping to jinx him into scoring a goal, and here we are. So I'll take the win for that one. 17 games he went between goals, but he got as you say, big one tonight.
Bruce, what's your bad thing?
Yeah, it came early in the game, David. The first period was pretty terrible hockey, to be honest. And the first 5 minutes, Edmonton got an early power play, not because they earned it, but because Sanderson, son of former Oiler Jeff Sanderson, Jake Sanderson, flicked the puck over the glass, got a 2-minute penalty for that. And the 2-minute power play that ensued was just catastrophically bad. Well, I guess not catastrophic because Ottawa didn't score. They sure might have scored. They didn't score, but Edmonton couldn't make a play. They were just coughing up the puck over and over again. Ottawa cleared the defensive zone, I think, 6 different times, and maybe 4 or 5 of them were a direct result of Edmonton mishandling the puck. 2 times, I don't know if they were both on this power play, the aforementioned Victor Arvidson cleared the puck out of the defensive zone by making a poor pass. In fact, one of them was intercepted at the blue line for a jailbreak. And Bouchard coughed up the puck a couple times. And there was just no cohesion or flow. And the one thing I took out of it was this is where the Oilers really miss Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. All the little things he does on these power plays help him get into the zone with possession. And, they'll feed it over to him on the left wing. He'll make a clean handle with it. And he'll make a real simple play up the boards or back to the point. And the next thing you know is Edmonton's in full possession of the puck in the offensive zone. And he's frequently part of that buildup. And he wasn't there. And Arvidson was let's say, finding his way that part of the game. And that whole power play was just hide your eyes, terrible. And Ottawa had, I think they didn't get any shots because they didn't get their shots on net, but they sure had opportunities. And there was their 4 men badly outplayed Edmonton's 5 men for the whole 2 minutes, basically. And it just was not a promising start to the game. And anyway, that was probably the moment when my blood pressure got the highest, other than maybe your bad thing.
I wonder how many times, Bruce, Nuge is the second person to touch the puck in the power on, like, once they enter the zone, how many times he's the next person who touches it. I wonder if it's like 70% of the time, or
David
80.
outlets to that left wing boards a lot when he hits the blue
sure
line.
does. He sure
See, he
does.
hits
He
the
trusts
blue
them.
line. He pulls the D-man and he just flips it over there, and he trusts Nuge to, make a clean handle in relatively tight quarters and get the puck to an open guy, and then they can set up. And that was clearly missing from this power play because nothing like that remotely happened for the entire 2 minutes.
Yeah. My bad thing is the obvious thing. I'm sure everyone's.
Yeah, we both picked it.
What can you say? Like Bouchard, when he's so calm with the puck. You watch him play hockey, he's calm. He's got a really low panic threshold, which is fantastic for an offensive hockey player. It allows you to you keep your head up, see the ice, not throw away the puck too soon. Make tricky plays with the puck, and he's increasingly taking risks with the puck as his confidence grows, and he's generally able to pull it off. I mean, I early on I compared him. The first comparison was to Larry Murphy, but then I started to see signs of another defenseman, Sergei Zubov, and I know it seems like a stretch, but I raised it about 3 or 4 years ago, and I thought, and it did feel like a stretch, and I think I said it was, but the more I see him now, Zubov played that same slow, like deliberate, smooth, dodging players, holding the puck, making plays game, and Bouchard's skating isn't quite at the level of Zubov's, but Bouchard's skating is kind of underrated. He is able to make quick movements, spins with the puck to get away from players and protect, use his size to protect it. Some of those times when he tries that, though, it doesn't work. And this time it was a disaster. He just looked wretched. He gave away the puck at the blue line, or just inside the blue line. It was a breakaway, and they scored. So, for me, the risk reward is acceptable. For some people, it's not. They've had enough of him, and that's fair. Everyone's got their players that they like. Man, I love his skill, and he when you look at his rate of mistakes on grade A shots, it's about the same this year as Ekholm, and it's about the same as Nurse so far. So these are all players playing really tough competition and heavy minutes. And Bouchard isn't making any more major mistakes than the other two guys. Now, both of those guys have slumped at different times. Bouchard's been pretty consistent, actually, all year long. But I don't listen. I'm on Team Bouchard, and if you're not, that's okay by me. Like, I respect that. I get it. I know lots of people who really know a lot about hockey who don't like this player, but I do.
Yeah, well, more good than bad is where I keep going back to, but sometimes the bad is really wretchedly bad, and it's kind of hard to get past it to see anything good. This particular turnover falls into that camp. You said the words I was going to chime in with: risk versus reward. And he was the last man back coming out of the zone, and there was one guy coming in on him, and he makes a confident move as if he's going to dangle around the guy, and this being an NHL player, makes a play to check the puck off of him, jump in behind for the breakaway, and then makes a shot. And the reward from this play is if you beat the guy one-on-one, well, you've still got the puck in the neutral zone, you got 4 other guys you're going to have to beat when you're going up the ice to make anything happen. Whereas even one time in 10, where you don't beat the guy, he's got a 5-alarm breakaway, and good chance to score, and he did score. And it was just, it just wasn't worth the risk. I mean, when I was an assistant coach in minor hockey, we'd always tell the defenseman, last man back. You don't try and beat guys one-on-one. I guess if you're as good as Evan Bouchard, you do that. But I thought for that 5 seconds, he looked like he was a junior hockey player. Like it was just that kind of level of bad mistake. And cost Stu a shutout, but thankfully that's all it cost in the grand scheme of things. And in Bouchard's defense, I'll say he got racked up in a hit last week, and he hasn't missed any games. In fact, he's only missed since the 21 season, when he spent a lot of it on the taxi squad. But since he became a regular in the lineup in 21-22, he's missed 2 games. He played 80, 81, 82, and 81, I think. And last year's 81, the one he missed was a healthy scratch right at the end of the season when they were resting defense pairings. So he does, he's durable. But I think in this case, since he took that wicked dart into the post and he missed a few practices, maintenance days, and so I just don't think he's at 100%. And I don't think his game has been particularly close to 100% these last 3-4 games. And I'm prepared to give him a bit of a pass. I mean, we don't know the details, but that's the whole point. We don't know the details. So ripping on the guy when he's playing through something might not be the course of action either.
I liked him in the previous 2 ones to this. I thought he was pretty sharp because he had a totally rancid, his worst game of the year, the game before that, right after the injury.
Right.
I wonder what Paul Coffey said. I wonder what Paul Coffey said to him on the bench, if anything, after that play. Because if there was one guy who would try to deke someone, last man back, and make that high risk play, it was Paul Coffey would try that.
I'd like to think
it's true. You know what? And go ahead.
I'd like to think Paul Coffey whispered in his ear, been there, done that, and I won 4 Stanley Cups. Hang in there.
That's what I think he says. I think he says that. Because, listen, Bouchard, he knows.
Well,
he feels like
you don't have to tell him.
You don't have to tell anyone. Any small mistake. If you have a player who chronically won't take responsibility for his mistakes on the ice, okay, that's a big problem. And there's probably NHL players like that who have huge egos and are I and never see themselves making mistakes. But I don't get the sense Bouchard's one of them. He strikes me as fairly a measured person, and so he knows. He knows. He knows. Like, oh, okay, that 39.7% of Oiler fans who hate my guts, they're going to be out in full voice.
It's going to sound like 93.7% when you read it on social media.
Yeah, he's good. So he knows. But I hope Coffey said exactly what you said. Just try to make plays.
Shrug it off.
You're here to make plays. You're here to attack. And we do want you to be a solid defender. And I wouldn't be so sanguine about this. I guess comfortable, to use a more basic word. If Bouchard hadn't played so well in the playoffs defensively, he really did. He was good against tough competition. He was maybe close to very good against tough competition in the playoffs. So he can do it, and I think he will again. He just, it's the regular season's long. You can't crank it up like you do in the playoffs, and these things are going to happen, as they happen to every single defenseman, is the truth.
He's the most dangerous Oiler with defenseman with the puck on his stick since at least Lubo Wisnowski, if not Chris Pronger, in terms of his capacity to look up, find a guy. Just that beautiful stretch pass he sent to McDavid in the first period tonight. And, he didn't have a lot of moments in this game, but that was, that's the Bouchard that we expect to, deliver plus plays as well as the odd clanger.
Yeah. I think Bouchard may be a better offensive player than either of those guys, and Pronger's a Hall of Fame hockey player. Mm-hmm. But a lot of that comes from his menace and his defensive acumen. He just dominated the game.
Sure could pass the puck, though, man.
He sure could. He was a fantastic hockey player. I guess they're naming some kind of team of this century, this first quarter century for each NHL team. And I wonder if Pronger will be on that team for the Oilers.
1 year.
Just 1 year, but man, what a year.
It was a good year.
I'd have him on personally. I just think he
Well,
was.
they're just picking 6 guys for the team. Is that
I
the
think
idea?
so.
They're not like doing a whole roster or anything, right?
No, just 6 guys. Or I think there might be actually the top 2. There might be doing 2 lines.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there's not a lot of great defensemen that played for the Oilers.
Yeah, well,
But
those
there's
2
a
guys
couple.
behind you there, I don't think either one of them is going to make it.
That's my AI creation, Bruce. Don't criticize it. You'll hurt my feelings. And you'll hurt the AI's feelings, and it'll come and get you.
Yeah.
That's even more scary. All right. Numbers. What is your number?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the numbers. I guess I'm going to go with the numbers 6 and 5. And of course, that was the score from Monday night's game. Edmonton scored 5 times against Florida, but it wasn't enough because they didn't play a strong enough defensive game. And they lost 6-5 in regulation. Nothing to show for it, even though they had, their best offensive outburst of the week with 5 goals. Now they played 3 more games after that this week, and they scored 3, 3, and 3 goals in those 3 games, and 2 of the third goals came in overtime. Like, they were not filling the net at any time, but neither were the other guys who scored in the 3 games combined 5 goals. Like, Florida got more goals against Edmonton this week than did Boston, San Jose, and Ottawa combined, who only got 5 goals. And it was because of their ability to keep the puck out of their own net. It's a pretty good net minding by both Skinner and Pickard. I'll add to this, but I thought just the team, I had an idea they might sort of, after that Florida, let's call it a debacle, that they might try and, play lower event hockey. And I think largely they did. I mean, tonight the shots were only 22-21, and it was, it wasn't textbook, but it was, the higher priority seemed to be keep the puck out of our net, and we'll find enough goals to win. And basically that was the formula for 3 wins now.
Very nice. And that relates to my number. My number is second, and it's 3 and 5. The Oilers are now second in the Pacific Division. For the first time this year, they've moved ahead of the Los Angeles Kings. 44 points to 43 points. 3 points back from Vegas. Vegas has a game in hand. And 5 is 5 points back from first in the conference, Winnipeg. And the Oilers have a game in hand. So, Bruce, this is a remarkable turnaround. And I don't want to see another LA Edmonton series. They tend to be really physical series. And I think the Oilers would be better off playing a different team in the first round than LA this year, just because of that. And so
they always get banged up in that series.
Yeah, it's gonna take them finishing first in their their division, if not the conference. So this team can do that. There's no reason in the world this team can't do that. Winnipeg, after its amazing start, has come right down to earth. I mean, they've got 11 losses now to go with their 24 wins. So they're a good team, but they're not like, as we always say, the 1927 Yankees. That's kind of a lost reference probably on a lot of people by now. They're not exactly the 1984 Edmonton Oilers, the Winnipeg Jets. They're a really good team, but they're not world beaters. So I just think Edmonton can catch these teams and win the conference. And then if you get to the Stanley Cup final, or when you get there, because this team should get there, I believe, and you get Game 7 if there's a Game 7 at home.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Or when you get to any playoff Game 7. And if the Oilers are going to march to the playoffs and go all the way, there's going to be a Game 7 or 2, as there was last year. And having that home ice would be nice this time. I think it is an advantage in Game 7. So
yeah, well, they caught up to Minnesota Wild, who were disappearing off in the distance about 2 weeks ago, and Edmonton pasted them 7-1 in Minnesota. Now, granted, they've had some injury issues they're dealing with, but so have the Oilers and other teams. They won the game after that loss to Edmonton, but since then they've lost 4 in a row
Nice.
to good hockey teams: 3-2 to Vegas, 6-1 to Florida, 2-1 to Utah, 5-0 to Winnipeg. But they scored 4 goals in 4 games. Biggest difference between their season and Edmonton's is that their lousy stretch happened in the middle of the season, whereas Edmonton's was right away. And after 3 games, you look at 3-0, -12 in goals, and the rest of the league is up there. Whereas when you have a little, bad week during the season, you drop a couple of spots, but it's not catastrophic. But now Minnesota is a pretty good hockey club. Well, Edmonton's got them because they got 6 points this week. Minnesota got none.
Indeed. Bruce, when's the next game?
Next game is next Saturday. They actually play another back-to-back afternoon games, both at Los Angeles, with second place in the Pacific on the line. The Oilers will be still 1 point ahead. I'm pretty sure neither team plays between now and then.
Yeah.
And I know Edmonton doesn't. And then they play in Anaheim the very next afternoon. But, so back-to-back, but essentially no travel between LA and Anaheim. Anaheim's basically a suburb, as I understand it.
Yeah.
So
Alrighty.
But the good game on Saturday will be welcome back, and it'll be between it being the first game after a break, which includes 3 full days away from any kind of hockey, and being an afternoon game in Los Angeles. I was going to say Forum. What do they call that rink out there? Anyway, that one, Staples Center.
No, I think
It's
that's
not
an
even that
older.
anymore. Yeah. Anyway, that building. So it's hard to be super confident. At the same time, they're proving that they have more ways to win games than they do to lose them. So we'll see what happens.
Alrighty, Bruce, thanks for talking.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.
Merry Christmas, one and all.